Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is a Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines, and most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice a week long form podcast, because I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. What is up? Happy Thursday, everyone. Tracy St. Clair, good morning over on YouTube. It's a wild morning this morning. I don't know if you guys had saw, but there's a apparent cell phone outage that hits AT&T customer nationwide, and Verizon and T-Mobile users are also affected by that today. And a lot of it looks like a whatchamacallit, stimulus, or like a solar flare is caused this cell phone outage out there. It started at 3:30 a.m. this morning Eastern time, and as of like 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, that it was still happening. Most users are still impacted. 51% say they're having issues using their phone, and then a third of the customers are reported being affected, that they have no signal at all. And yeah, it's nuts out there that this is going on. And I think that this is a solid reminder to everybody that you still have to make your cold calls. All right. Just because the cell phones are out and everything, you guys got to make your cold call still, no matter what. Get on the phone and start dialing, ladies and gentlemen. It's wild, though. Apparently a solar flare is what caused it. And yeah, we will see. I just wanted to bring that up just in case, because out here where I live in Arizona, my phone wasn't affected by it at all. But my family who lives in Minnesota, their phones were affected by it. So yeah, check in and make sure that you guys can make those dials today, because I'm sure that's what your sales managers are going to want you to do, ladies and gentlemen, is make your calls no matter what. It doesn't matter that a solar flare happened. Figure it out. Corey Buchan, good morning, all, he says over on YouTube. Zena, what is up, Zena? Hello, Chris. Morning, everyone. Thomas Weirden, Freight, morning over on LinkedIn. Stephen Tittle, good morning, coach. Let's roll. Thomas, I saw that, and I'm actually going to be breaking down an article about that, because I kind of got a lot of thoughts on relaunching that app, but we will get to that here shortly. Let's see. It's been a wild week. You know, it has. It's been a slow week. Lots of quotes coming out there. You know, again, I'm obviously I'm concerned that business is never as busy as we are. But at the end of the day, first quarter is always dismal in freight, and especially the freight that I move in the open deck and heavy haul world. It's generally slow this time of year out there. And yeah, so, you know, at the end of the day, keep showing up, you know. And that was kind of like the majority of the reason why I posted what I posted this morning, right? Because it's like, I mean, it's hard for me, right? Building a business is hard for me. Cold calling is hard for me. This job is hard for me. And I, you know, and when it's stressful, though, when the times are challenging, that's when you have to hold yourself accountable and be disciplined in just putting in the work no matter what. Because most people don't. At the end of the day, most people don't put in the work when things are challenging, when things are tough, when they don't want to. And, you know, they look at the negative of when things go wrong. And, you know, I don't advocate for things to go wrong at all, but I also understand the value of when things happen and how we can get better, how we can improve, and how we can make ourselves better prepared for the next time that some of these things come along. So, you know, at the end of the day, if you're having a rough time right now in business development and things are slow for you and you're questioning everything, and don't worry, I am as well. But at the end of the day, I'm going to continue to show up because you know what? It's supposed to be hard. And this is a great time to separate no matter what. So just hold yourself accountable, you guys. No matter what, hold yourself accountable, put in the work, put in those outreaches, do everything in your power to stand out because most people don't do it because it's hard. All right. It's hard. At least it is for me. Probably a lot of the reason why I went to public school. No, I'm just playing. Anyways, let me see here. April Maroney, let's get it, coach. Stephen Tittle said, everyone not answering my calls is a regular day. Now solar flares? Come on, man. I know, Stephen. It's wild out there. That's why, I'm going to tell my boss that why we weren't able to get any new customers today is because of the solar flare. Let me see here. Thomas, yes, I will be breaking that article down here shortly. And Sunny Sharma, what is up? That's right. Orange shirt gang in the house. Let's get it, ladies and gentlemen. I threw in a bonus article here this morning because I saw somebody post this out on a buddy of mine DM'd me this, and then I saw the post itself, and Thomas is bringing it up because he threw it in there as well. And I saw that my good friend Eric Johnson wrote an article about this morning. So it's a bonus article. The links to all the articles that I always break down, you guys, are uploaded onto the Freight Coach YouTube channel, as well as the Coffee with the Freight Coach audio only replay. Because at the end of the day, everything out here is just my opinion, and I would love for you guys all to do your own research if you see fit. Excuse me. So that being said, Flexport resurrects Convoy's truckload tech as a tool for driver and brokers. So the post that I had saw out there was from Flexport's Bill Dreigert, who used to be with Uber, and had put out there that they had put Convoy's platform out there. So 3 months after acquiring the technology from freight broker Convoy, Flexport relaunched the Convoy platform as an app that will initially serve carriers and brokers with loads from Flexport shippers. The reemergence of the Convoy brand is intended to target 3 sets of audiences. Bill Dreigert, Flexport's executive vice president and head of trucking, told the JOC on Wednesday. One is the community of owner-operator drivers that had previously downloaded and used the app as a way to access Convoy's brokerage. The second is freight brokers that had used Convoy for Brokers, a tool Convoy to develop for fellow brokers to access the pool of capacity it had created through its app. And the third is existing Flexport shipper customers that want to align truckload legs to the international legs the forwarder most known is known for handling. Convoy is a tech platform, and Flexport is essentially a customer of the platform, said Dreigert, who was recruited from Uber Freight. Flexport is often the key provider our customers work with, and they look at us for those services. They see it directly in the form of better pricing and better capabilities. When an owner-operator logs in, they will see Flexport loads on another broker's loads. They won't see Convoy loads. Carriers can use the app to request attention and lumper fees, track their fleets, and manage their paperwork. Flexport said in a statement Thursday, the app also facilitates same-day and next-day quick pay options. And then it goes on to say that the truckload acceleration, Flexport acquired the technology and intellectual property in early November after, see that it went out of business. And Dreigert said Flexport was in the process of building internal tools that did much of what the Convoy and Uber had done. And Convoy built sophisticated capabilities. The product has been tested with existing Flexport shippers, and shippers saw real benefits from Convoy technology that was out there. Dreigert said Flexport is just at the start of understanding where else to leverage the technology beyond the truckload market. And Flexport has a small existing brokerage, but also provides cartage, less than truckload, drayage, everything else. This is a huge canvas for us to paint because of our reach. Great article, as always, from my man, Eric Johnson with the JOC. I'm a big fan of Eric Johnson. Now, with that being said, here's what I'm not a fan of. And I don't know this at all, because I don't know if Convoy still owes a lot of money to a lot of carriers. But the last time I had checked in on that, and just by a quick Google search this morning, um, they still owe a lot of money that I had found. Again, the Google search is not up to date per se, but to the best of my knowledge, there are still a lot of trucking companies that are out there that are owed money by this. And now, when you buy the technology in the IP, that is obviously separate from that. So I want to be clear from that. But I think that is probably the absolute worst marketing move that you can do to try and recruit drivers to haul freight under that umbrella when that umbrella might owe them money still. So massive marketing blunder, in my humble opinion. But I just think, like, I truly think Flexport would have been better off branding it as themselves or something completely different and not having any association with Convoy at all. Because everything that I can see out there, Convoy still owes drivers a lot of money. And have no intention on paying them back anytime soon, at least, right? I don't know. I don't know this for sure, but I don't know why you would put that information out there, branding it at that if they owed anybody money. And I think that it's built up a ton of animosity. I think it's a major marketing blunder out there by Flexport. Because yeah, and I know that because it's going to be easy to say, well, oh, we only bought the technology, we only bought the IP. I get that, but the optics are terrible from that. If you're trying to get drivers to join that app to get freight from a company branded as the company that burned lots and lots of drivers out of money or delayed it substantially from paying them when, most small businesses have a very hard time paying their bills. I don't know. I think it's a massive marketing blunder. I really do. I truly, truly do. Stephen Tittle says, question the timeline, read between the lines on the news. Convoy Tech sold to Flexport, not disclosed with pride. Hint, IMO given to them. In my opinion, given to them. Flexport laid off 20% just 1 week prior. Then a few weeks later, Flexport upper management gets jobs at Flexport. Yeah. Steven, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's wild too, because they raised a bunch of money as well recently, like a couple $100 million. And it just, I don't know. I can't put myself in that position because I've never raised billions of dollars. I've never built a company that is worth billions of dollars yet. I'll let you guys know when I get there. But there's a ton of bad optics coming out of there, frankly, at the end of the day. And if anybody from Flexport is watching this, the optics are atrocious from this move, from this Convoy move. Plus, you guys just laid off a shitload of people after raising a bunch of capital. And I get it, right? Like, I get it. You got to run your business. You got to do what you got to do. But the optics are bad. You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have rebranded it as Convoy anything. Just my 2 cents. Thomas says definitely shouldn't have. Yes, I agree, Thomas. Robert Cowton, my man. Good morning to you, sir. Thanks for tuning in. Now, let's get to my favorite topic of all time: accessorials and detention. TTnews.com. This article actually was released this morning, and I had to break. I didn't want to wait till next week on this. FMCSA planning new study on detention time. Agency will seek 80 carriers and 2,500 truck drivers to collect data. This is the first time I'm reading this, and I want to say I will agree with the FMCSA on this one wholeheartedly. They need to study this stuff because detention time is a problem. It really is. Back to the article. Federal trucking regulators are planning an in-depth research study that will analyze data collected by 80 carriers and 2,500 drivers to help determine the frequency and severity of detention time drivers face when making deliveries. Those drivers and carriers chosen for the study will collect and provide 12 months of data toward the end of helping provide strategies to mitigate driver detention time. The study sample will include a variety of carrier operations, including long haul and short haul, private and company fleets, for-hire fleets, port servicing, primarily chassis, it says, owner ops, hourly and mileage-based operators, truckload and LTL, and dedicated local delivery. Detention time refers to extra time. We all know what detention time says, but the FMCSA put a definition out there. Public comment on the new detention time study announcement must be reviewed on or before March 18th. The FMCSA said detention time is in the industry is a longstanding issue and consistently ranks as one of the top problems for a large person of operators. Reducing detention time may reduce costs for carriers, increase pay for drivers, and improve drivers' ability to make driver deliveries on time or arrive at a destination as planned without violating hours of service requirements. Drivers who experience less detention time may be more likely to drive safely and reach out. Officials said, I'm just skipping over some of this stuff, you guys, because it's kind of pie in the sky. Typical bureaucratic stuff. Anyways, officials said that they've been studying detention time since 2014, but prior studies have been limited due to small sample studies. Therefore, the FMCSA needs additional data from a broader sample of carriers to understand the safety and operational impact of detention time, to better understand why detention time occurs and identify potential mitigation strategies out there. Specifically, the FMCSA said there are 3 primary objectives in this new study. Pay attention to these. To assess the frequency and severity of driver detention time using the data that represents these major segments of the industry, assess utility of existing innovative technology solutions to measure detention time, and prepare final report that summarizes these findings, answers the research questions, and offers strategies to reduce detention time. A total of 171 comments received on the August 2023 register notice were varied. In the comments, owner-operator OIDA, cited a 2018 Department of Transportation Office of Inspector General report that estimated a 15-minute increase in average dwell time. The total time spent by a truck at a facility increases the average expected truck crash rate by 6.2%. It's kind of a lot. It also estimates that detention time is associated with a reduction in earnings of 1.1 to 1.3 billion with a B dollars for higher commercial vehicles that were out there, and reduces net incomes by 250 to 302 million annually for motor carriers out there. After numerous studies and that the FMCSA has had in detention time, there is always the question if the FMCSA will monitor detention time, and if so, how? Asked the TCA. Had said, and then the TCA also said that detention time within the trucking industry is a complex issue with various factors at play. The FMCSA would face significant challenges to effectively regulate detention time due to numerous definitions and tracking methods that were out there. The ATA said in its comments that it had reservations about the suitability of detention time. Goes on to say that the ATA is concerned that small carrier operations and owner operators may not sufficiently be represented, and that the ATA urges the agency to carefully consider whether this data is study for sufficiently represents the range of shippers that the trucking industry serves. I read most of this article for a reason, and a lot of it to me is what is because like, again, I think that from my perspective, detention is complex, as we all know. I think getting compensated for detention time is more of a thing for, hold on, you guys. We got a quote come through. Hang tight. We are on it, customer. Hold on 1 second here. We're going to win this load. We are going to win this shipment. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, it's a complex issue. I truly think, and by complex, I mean, I think it's pay. I think it's compensation. And again, all my driver friends who watch this show, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sitting here advocating for long wait times or anything like that. I think everybody who's in the industry understands that wait time is kind of part of it. But they want to be paid for it. And that's what I didn't see in this article at all was how there could be compensation for the compensation for the drivers. I think that's the big thing. And I didn't see that as being addressed in there of, is there going to be anything in how to actually prove this? And is there, like, what's the real end result with this? Because studying detention time is one thing, right? And it needs to be. Like, there are some facilities out there that are very notorious for very, very long wait times. And I get that. But at the end of the day, how are we going to compensate people for this? What are we going to do with this information? Or is this just going to be a large investment and there's not going to be any real fix that comes of this? And that's kind of my biggest concern here, is this is going to get a lot of people very, very excited, which rightfully so. Drivers need to be compensated for their wait time. I'm going to say that and keep repeating that. But will this study actually lead to any meaningful change? That is yet to be seen. And then how do you enforce it, though, right? How do you enforce it at every single level out there? Anyways, you guys, that article, ttnews.com, FMCSA planning a new study on detention time. I think it needs to be addressed and it needs to be fixed, and there needs to be something, because drivers need to get paid. And then especially, all you brokers out there that don't like to pay drivers detention time when you're billing your customer, it's stuff like this that needs to be done to make sure that you're actually paying these guys. I don't like overreach at all. I'm not a fan of it, but you guys can't pocket this money. It's ridiculous. And I think that that's what leads to a lot of this stuff. So anyways, Robert Cowton says, polite persistence wears down resistance. Example, Monday, I replied to a customer that is not booked for several months. I reminded I'm available. Next day, quote request. I love it. And then he goes on to say about detention, it is cheaper to pay a driver $40 to $60 an hour than hire extra staff. In Alberta, Canada, flatbed detention is $155 to $185 per hour. Carriers should have onboarding for brokers to, in their terms out there. Yeah, man, I know carriers have a massive risk out there, right? Like they really do. And it's like carriers make, and again, I hear varying numbers out there, but it's like, you got to figure they can get $1,000+ a day. Again, this is just a rough guesstimate. Please don't chastise me for saying that that's not enough money, but that is what is never taken into account, right? Is the amount of money that they're losing by sitting. So it's like, yeah, $50 an hour is one thing, but it's not it's not enough, right? Because these guys make a lot of money. They pay a lot of money every single month to run their business. And every single time that they're down and they're not moving, it's costing them more than $60 an hour. And I think that again, I can't go as far as saying the fixed number and everything else out there coming down from anything, but I think that there needs to be a higher standard. I really do. Or I think at the end of the day, more carriers need to tell brokers, my detention rate is X. Whether it's $100 an hour or whatever it is, there needs to be more communication out there. But again, I think the biggest underlying issue with a lot of it truly is the fact that customers do pay detention. Brokers just don't pay carriers detention. I will be the one that you guys can throw all the axes at, because that happens out there. All right. It happens out there more times than a lot of you guys want to think, because a lot of the times us brokers think we're so smart out there, and that no trucking company will ever call the shipper or receiver and request detention and then have the shipper or receiver tell them we paid detention on that load. Ask yourself what you're going to do if that happens to you, broker. That's right, Thomas. We're going to win this shipment. Christina, appreciate it. Matt Fink, what is up, my man? He says drivers should be salaried and the pressure would move into ops to be efficient in sales, would have to ensure proper remuneration. Yeah, dude, I know a couple of my friends who own trucking companies that salary their drivers, and they have no problems with a lot of this, right? And then it's led to higher detention It had the not detention, excuse me. It had the highest retention out there, they said, is when they were able to salary drivers because and then they also looked at it from an overarching cost too. The driver felt less inclined to push a vehicle when you know that something was wrong with the vehicle because they wouldn't get paid for downtime. And they knew now that they were going to get paid if the truck was getting maintained and everything else. So the company saw a massive increase in profits out there because their equipment was fixed and maintained in a regular schedule, as opposed to I'm not going to shut this truck down because that means I lose money. Um, Matt says I will not cite the name, but a Schneider National executive had the best analogy. Consider a driver and a truck a factory. No factory operator would tolerate the amount of downtime carriers are expected to absorb. Never. I agree with that, man. Nobody would. Nobody's going to sit here for free any day. Not one broker would show up to work and sit there for free for 2 hours. All right? You won't do it. You won't do it. Robert says, sitting risks losing the next load to educate all my customers on the time when you delay unloading, affecting the new trip. Yeah, I do the exact same thing, right? When there's delays out there, because in my world, in the heavy haul world and everything else, the delays cost a lot, right? And, and talking about that, but I also have a lot of those conversations on the front end. John Radvansky, my man, the more you sit, the less you drive and earn. As my old man always said, who was a driver for 40 years, if my wheels aren't turning, I'm not earning. That was his famous saying out there. But that, I don't think we're going to have time to do another article today. But as always, you guys, the links to these articles will be uploaded onto the Freight Coach YouTube channel, as well as the Coffee with the Freight Coach audio only replay. And I just got another quote request come through, you guys. So I got to end the show a couple minutes early. You guys know I'm going to be using my friends over at Green Screens to quote this stuff out because that's how I win every single shipment. Hit up my friends over at Green Screens, you guys. We'll be back tomorrow, Q&A day. All right. If you have any questions for the transportation industry you want answered live on the show, jump on, DM them over to me. You can remain anonymous. Or hell, you know what? Let's do this. If you want to join me and ask me your question live on the show on Friday, DM me. I'll shoot you the link. You can join me. Ask me live. Let's do that. Fuck it. Let's switch things up a little bit. If you want your question answered live on the show, DM me. I'll give you the link to the show and I'll pull you up and we'll do a little live Q&A out there. But that's going to be it, you guys. As always, if you guys got value in what you heard, subscribe to the show. Share it out there to your network, because if you saw value, your network's going to see value as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.